Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Billy Napier, the Florida Gators, kicking off spring practice on Thursday. Now, we're going to hop on Thursday afternoon, talk about the spring practice notes, talk about some of the questions that we have for this Florida Gators program heading into 2024. But on the other side of the coin, for spring practice, it represents a massive opportunity for these programs to get their top targets on campus around the program. Billy Napier and the staff wasting no time getting top targets on campus to check out spring practice. Want to talk about the amount of talent that is going to be visiting Florida for that first spring practice date. Really loaded list. A lot of some of my top targets for Florida going to be on campus. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And many of y'all know recruiting is one of my favorite aspects to talk about in regards to college football. It's been a blast breaking down all of these commitments for the Florida Gators. You guys continue to show a ton of love, a ton of support. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with arguably one of my favorite safeties in this 2025 class, and that is Hilton Stubs. Plays his high school ball at Mandarin. And you talk about a checklist of what you want in safeties going to the next level. One of the things that's on the top of my board is the instincts and the ball skills that you have. You talk about making game-changing plays. That's what Hilton Stubs does. This is a guy that had 6 interceptions as a junior, 8.5 tackles for a loss. And when you talk about high school recruiting, you're going to get a lot of, okay, what's the verified track times? Do we have verified height and weight on these kids? And yes, that stuff absolutely matters. Physical traits. Football is a height, weight, speed sport. No doubt about that. But what I feel like kind of gets lost in the conversation is, all right, what do these guys look like when they have the pads and helmet on? Hilton Stubs, you talk about instincts, you talk about ball skills. That's what he brings to the table. He plays that deep safety role, normally that single high role where he's playing center field, reading quarterback's eyes, and then just going and attacking the football when it's in the air. He's got phenomenal range in the back end, a guy that can come up into the box and make plays around the line of scrimmage. Again, 8.5 tackles for loss. Extremely physical tackler. You talk about what you want, especially in this Austin Armstrong defense. You want versatility. You want guys that can do a lot of different things. I think Hilton Stubs can be an elite single high safety. I think he has the athletic ability to play that nickel role, and certainly physical enough and big enough to play as a box safety. You can move him all around a defense. A guy that has the instincts. He plays extremely fast. He plays extremely hard. This is one of my favorite safety prospects in the 2025 class. It sounds like Florida has the inside track on Hilton Stubs and his recruitment. A top target for Florida, checking out spring practice. Hope to see this one potentially get wrapped up in the next couple of weeks or maybe month. And when he commits, and when and if he commits to Florida, we're going to do a film breakdown on Hilton Stubs because, again, one of my favorite safeties in this 2025 class. Next one I want to talk about is a really exciting wide receiver who played a little at IMG, transfers back to Naples, Florida, in Winston Watkins. And what excites me most about Winston Watkins Jr. is, one, the bloodlines are certainly there. He's the cousin of former Clemson wide receiver Sammy Watkins. Not necessarily as big as Sammy Watkins, but you talk about juice, not only after the catch, but before the catch. That's where Winston Watkins Jr. really kind of flashes. Right before the catch, how can you separate? Can you create separation? Do you run clean routes? He combines those elite movement skills that you see after the catch in his route running as well. One of the more polished route runners that you'll see at the high school level. And again, what he does before the catch, very appealing. What he does after the catch is another thing that really makes Winston special. You talk about a guy that when he has the football in his hands, whether it is after the catch, whether it's as in the special teams game, this is a guy that can change games. And you look at how Eugene Wilson kind of fundamentally changed that Florida Gators offense in terms of what he can do with the football in his hands in space. Winston Watkins Jr. kind of has those flashes of just elite ability to make people miss, hit those big plays with the football in his hands. Now, do I think he has as much juice as a guy like Eugene Wilson? Probably not, but he's also only a junior in high school. This is a guy that you talk about Florida wanting to get speed at the wide receiver position, playmaking at the wide receiver position. Winston Watkins Jr. certainly going to provide that. Now, another visitor that's going to be here this weekend for Florida, University of Miami commit Wayn Charles. And we broke him down when he committed to Miami. A little bit of a different flavor at the wide receiver position than a guy like Winston Watkins Jr., right? Wayn Charles is a big physical frame on the boundary, and you talk about situating your wide receiver room like a basketball team in terms of having guys that can do different things, right? You got your center, who's the rebounder. You got your shooting guard, who can put up some shots, and the point guard, who's distributing the football. You want wide receivers that can do a lot of different things too, right? You have guys like Eugene Wilson who are going to be really good in space. You have a guy like Shamir Dike coming in from Wisconsin who can really work vertically. That's where I think Wayn Charles fits into that Florida Gators wide receiver room. This is a guy that, again, committed to Miami, taking his visits. And what appeals so much to me about Wayn Charles is what he can do working vertically down the field. He doesn't have as much juice in terms of the movement skills and the short area quickness like a guy in Winston Watkins Jr., but you talk about playmaking in terms of when that football is in the air, who is going to come down with those 50-50 catches. That's Wayn Charles, a guy that at 6'2", 185 pounds. He has probably some work to do filling out that frame, but body control, how physical he is at the catch point, the size that he has, those are the type of things that really appealed to me about Wayn Charles. Again, just a playmaker at that wide receiver position, but a little bit of a different flavor than a guy in Winston Watkins Jr. Last guy I want to talk about is a running back that I'm not really sure how a lot of offenses are going to use him, in Gerard Pringle Jr. But you talk about juice with the football in your hand. Again, that's a very kind of common conversation we have with this Florida Gators offense. That's what Gerard Pringle Jr. brings to the table. This is a little bit of an undersized running back at 5'10", 180 pounds, but a guy that you take a look at the track and field times, 10.87, over 1,600 rushing yards, 7.7 yards per carry as a junior. He is elite at getting to the second level. Now, there are some things that you want to see him develop, right? The contact balance, the ability to absorb contact, run physically. You want to see that get a little bit better, which I think probably gets better as he puts on weight and continues to develop into that senior year. But this is a guy that if you can get him some swing passes, if you can get him to the perimeter, if you can block up for him to let him get to the second level, the joystick in him, the ability to make people miss in a phone booth, that's what sticks out to you about Gerard Pringle Jr. Not a guy that I think goes 20 carries a game at the college football level, but a guy that can, I don't know if I just pencil him in as a gadget guy, but a guy that you want to get the football to in space, can really just be an offensive weapon for a college football offense. Another very intriguing prospect that will be on campus. Now, you take a look at the Florida Gators visit schedule. They have a ton of talent coming to Gainesville throughout the next couple of weeks. We'll be breaking down them as they come in, but wanted to give you guys just a little bit of a primer on the talent that's going to be on campus for the Florida Gators tomorrow for spring practice. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas as I get through more of this high school film, grinding the huddle. I'll get you guys a couple more top targets for the Florida Gators. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. And again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.